The first question, which we started to answer last week, we didn't get a chance to finish, is can you wear your trousers below your ankles? So for a male, are you allowed to have your trousers below the level of your ankle? And as we mentioned, the first point to note is that there's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, collected by Imam Abu Dawood, that if your trousers are below your ankle, if your garment is below your ankle, your salah is not accepted. And we mentioned that this hadith is not authentic. So this hadith is not authentic. So if you were to have your trousers below your ankles, your salah is still accepted. Now there are two other hadith to do with this issue. The first hadith is collected by Imam Bukhari, in which the Prophet ﷺ said that any part of the garment below the ankle will be in the hellfire. Any part of the garment below the ankle will be in the hellfire. And we have a second hadith collected by Imam Muslim, in which the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah will not look at you on the Day of Judgment if you do it out of pride. If you have that garment below your ankle out of pride. So we have these two hadith now. How do we understand this issue with these two different hadith? And it's important to note, a side point, that when we're looking at an issue, a particular mas'ala, we have to look at all the hadith and all the ayat to do with this specific issue. So how do we understand these two hadith, or how do the scholars understand it? There are two ways of looking at it. The first way of looking at it, and the first group of scholars, they say that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the aspect of pride because this is the reason why it would be haram to have your garment below your ankle. So if you do it out of pride specifically, then this is what the Prophet ﷺ prohibited. And if you didn't do it out of pride, then there's no problem in it. The second group of scholars, they say no. They say the Prophet ﷺ said that it is in the hellfire, whatever is below the garment. And if you do it out of pride, a greater punishment will come to you in that Allah will not look at you on the Day of Judgment. So they say that it's haram, and a greater punishment, a greater level of haram, a greater degree of haram, if you specifically do it out of pride. So how do we understand this? The vast majority of scholars and the four madhahib, so the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmed, they all have their opinion that it is not haram. None of them say that it's haram. They then differ as to is it disliked, is it permissible, but none of the four madhahib, none of them say that it is haram. There are some other scholars that mention it is haram, for example, Ibn Hajar and Imam al-Dhahabi, amongst others. And there's also the aspect with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So we know famously Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, as is mentioned, that often his lower garment used to come down a bit so that it would be below his ankle. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that because you didn't do it out of pride, then there's no sin on you. So that's one argument from one side. The other side then say, but Abu Bakr as-Siddiq used to always pull his garment up. So this shows that it shouldn't be below the ankle. And then the other side then have another rebuttal to this, if you like. So these are the difference of opinions. And also Imam Abu Hanifa, he himself, as collected by Fatawa al-Hindiyah, that he used to, or at one point he wore a garment that was below his ankle. And somebody came up to him and said, oh Imam, are we allowed to do this? And Imam Abu Hanifa said that we're allowed to do it as long as we're not doing it out of pride. So that's the key aspect, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.